Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silver Mont, and we're going to talk about this year's E3 2021 in this video. Can we even really call this an E3 video? A lot of it has nothing strictly to do with the E3 event anymore, but there's still those days and weeks in June where companies feel obligated to release lots and lots of information and news about what's next. This year's E3 was disappointing. I went in with low expectations, thinking maybe we'll get some more Elden Ring, maybe if we're really lucky an announcement for Dragon's Dogma 2. On the bright side, we did get some Elden Ring, and I did a whole video on that last week. But that wasn't an announcement. As excited as I was to finally get some footage of Elden Ring, it's a game we knew was coming, right? It was announced like 2 years ago. Of all the announcements, though, I think the only game I actually want to buy is that Final Fantasy Chaos game, which rightfully became a bit of a meme immediately because that dude was obsessed with Chaos, but weird dialogue and kind of weird looking characters aside, they announced that game the right way, with gameplay. They even released a demo the same day. I mean, it was broken at first, but I give them props for releasing a demo and it worked eventually. See, there were so many games announced with nothing more than CGI trailers that tell us nothing about the game. People were excited for, what, Redfall? Why? It was a 10-minute CGI movie. If you have the money to spend on that much CGI, spend that money on the game and release a demo for us instead. There was a game called Contraband, I think? Open world co-op heists, maybe? I don't know. Trailer was useless, but I'll keep an eye on it. Same with Redfall. I mean, open world co-op game, sure, I'll keep an eye on it and see what it's like, but you can't sell me a game with a CGI trailer, no matter how cool the CGI is. That's genuinely it though. Out of everything I saw, and I watched almost every single stream and conference, Final Fantasy Stranger in Paradise, honestly the only announcement of a brand new game that I was interested in. What about you? Now, if we're talking just everything in general, then, well, of course, Elden Ring was the most interesting thing I saw personally. There were a few other previously announced games that I'm interested in. Babylon's Fall, Lost Ark, and so on. Babylon's Fall's been getting a really negative reaction on the trailer when I was looking at the, likes and dislikes and all that, but I'm not really sure why. Yeah, it had some really goofy voice acting and the graphics look like a PS3 game, but I'll wait to try out the game. It's a Platinum game and they have a decent track record. It's not quite as good in recent years, but I still trust them enough to put out a game that plays well. I know a lot of people were excited or mad about Bethesda's new game, Starfield? Star Sector? Star Civilian? I think it's Starfield. I could look it up right now, but I'm not going to. I mean, you know what one I'm talking about. I'm not very interested in this game. First up, it's Bethesda. If you want to know my feelings on Bethesda, well, just search Bethesda on my channel and the first result should be, what's wrong with Bethesda? That's a genuine question. It's not me claiming to have the answers to that. I genuinely want to know what is wrong with them. Long story short, I find them a frustrating studio. Makes it hard for me to be hyped for anything they do. That said, I will judge it when they release it, or a demo, or whatever. Premise just isn't really my thing either. It seems like one of those games where they promise the galaxy, and then they deliver you one chunk of a galaxy chocolate bar instead and tell you it's new and improved somehow. I noticed, for example, they're saying, this is the first game to use our brand new Creation 2 engine, or something like that. While saying that, I was gesticulating wildly, by the way, which I'm not really sure why I was doing that, but yeah, every time Bethesda release a new game, they say, this is a brand new engine, or something, but it's not. It's always the same engine they've been using since, like, Oblivion. I don't know if it's the engine that's the problem. Again, I don't know what the problem is with Bethesda, but all of their games are super janky, despite having no reason to be. So let's move on. Because a lot of people thought Nintendo won with the best announcements. They were like, oh yeah, look, Nintendo's out here making fools of everyone else. And what? How? Why? I suppose they did show more gameplay with their sort of announcement trailers and trailers in general than other people were, which is, that's a smart move, and I don't really think they did a great job though. Metroid Prime is apparently still in development hell. Bayonetta 3 doesn't exist. Instead, we're getting what looks like a cheap new Metroid game, some standard Mario things like golf and party and whatnot, and we finally got our first glimpse at Breath of the Wild 2, which looks like Breath of the Wild, but now there's some islands floating above the open world and you can go to those as well. It very much seems kind of like Majora's Mask to Ocarina of Time, only I don't think there was a very big gap between Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. Termina was actually a different overworld and completely different to Hyrule, but, you know, Breath of the Wild 2 is using the same map, doesn't even look like they're adding in multiplayer, which makes me feel like it's a pointless sequel. It's the same map. Why not just make it an expansion or a big DLC or a re-release or whatever? But because money, big development costs of games these days, you know, I don't want to sound too cynical, I'm just not really interested in anything they were showing here. So you might be saying, oh well, how is Breath of the Wild 2 any different from Dark Souls 4, Elden Ring? Because Elden Ring is a new world, it's a new map. I'm exploring something new. The main draw for me, for games like Breath of the Wild, and indeed Dark Souls, is not the combat or the difficulty or whatever, it's the exploration. I loved exploring Breath of the Wild, but I've already explored Breath of the Wild. Exploring it again with a few areas added on or maybe changed in minor ways, I don't think that's going to be worth full price. Not for me, anyway. And I don't care at all about the story in Zelda games because, well, I mean, if you beat Ocarina of Time, you know the story of every other Zelda game, basically. And I hoped when they were showing that announcement trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, it would at least be co-op. You know, they were showing Link and Zelda exploring together underground, going into some sort of cavern. I thought, oh, maybe if they give us the same world, but with more like underground areas and dungeons and stuff with co-op, that would be something new. And it would be kind of another evolution to the Zelda franchise. To me, Zelda's always been a franchise about exploring and adventure, and exploring and adventure are best done with a friend. For this second trailer, it starts off with Zelda falling down a hole immediately, so I assume she's back to being useless, and it'll be, you know, just Link doing what he does. Gather the 10 fungal snorfs to rescue Zelda. Maybe they'll announce later on it's gonna have co-op. Nintendo also announced Kazuya from Tekken being added into Smash. I mean, I suppose that's neat. If they're gonna add a Tekken character, it might as well be him. Plus, you know, he's the character I play when I play Tekken, so why not? But I don't think I'd play him in Smash Bros, because when I play Smash Bros, I play Ganondorf. I don't really combo people or juggle people. I just go Doria, Doria, and sometimes I hit them and they die. It's great. I think the only person they could add into Smash Bros that would be exciting for me right now would be Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden. I'd play that. The trailer should have been Kazuya dropping the 28,531 Marth clones down into the volcano instead. I guess the main issue with Nintendo is I'm just not the target audience for them, but maybe it's fair that they had the best streamers, you know, they just showed games with gameplay, they tried to cover all of their sort of target areas. Capcom's stream, though, was pointless, and I don't think anyone would have enjoyed that, as all they did was they basically went, thanks for buying Resident Evil 8, we're gonna make a DLC, because nobody could have guessed that. Thanks for buying Monster Hunter Rise, that's gonna have some free DLC and some premium DLC. And that they showed, like, some Ace Attorney thing, and that was pretty much it. Maybe they're saving the good stuff for Tokyo Game Show. I did find it funny when near the end of the Capcom they were like, let's recap. It's like, what are you recapping? You didn't say anything. The PC Game Show was bizarre as ever. They always have like these little skits, like this time like he was in a robot or there were things happening. Yeah. No. It makes you wonder, do we really need E3? These days, it's very easy for publishers to set up their own streams and digital conferences to announce things. Nintendo, well, I don't know if they were the first, but they definitely were the first of the big three to bow out from having the big stage conferences and just swap to Nintendo Direct. Then you have a company like Rockstar who do whatever they want. They could drop their GTA 6 trailer in the middle of the week, any time of the year, and it would hit more views in 24 hours than E3 got between everything combined, every gameplay trailer and stream. That said, E3 used to be a fun time of year for someone who is into video games. Everyone could bring out the big guns, try and surprise us with announcements. They'd always do that like, one more thing, you know? Just where and why it went wrong, I'm not really sure. After all, it's not like there's any particular reason you've got to announce stuff in June, but E3's just been on a steady decline, and maybe part of it has to do with how you can sell games these days with nothing more than a trailer. And now, again, I don't think this is the first time this ever happened, but look at that game, Dead Island, I think it was called. The trailer for that had everyone going like, wow, that's so cool and new. Then the game was kind of garbage, but maybe other publishers were like, hey, look, this Dead Island game costs $5 to make, and it sold millions of copies because of this trailer. Let's do that too. Let's not make a good game, let's just make a good trailer. But if you really think about it, moving topic, what AAA games, what AAA games were announced this E3? The whole global situation right now could be an excuse. You know, it's harder to make games and movies right now, that's fair. It could also be just that, an excuse. After all, if you go back to E3 2019, it's not like companies had any excuses back then why they weren't bringing the good stuff to the table. Combine that with the state of games ever changing, with its current model being seasons and battle passes, it's an interesting time. Publishers seem to be looking less for those AAA releases every year, and more like a game they can keep getting money from seasonally. For example, if you're releasing Call of Duty 5, your AAA release for the year, then next year you release Call of Duty 6, these games have huge budgets. So in a way, I do think it is better both for publisher and developer and consumer if you buy Call of Duty 5 and then next year you don't buy Call of Duty 6, you just have like seasons or battle passes that cost, you know, maybe a quarter the price of a game and give you roughly the quarter of the content of a game, updates that keep coming and improve the game. It's a better content pipeline, in my opinion. Now, of course, some studios will abuse this system, and others make it work quite well, I believe. Personally, I've never been a fan of buying annual releases of games where they don't really do much to change it. I'd rather keep playing one game that has content added to it than buying a sequel and having my progress reset when I'm kind of buying the same thing if there's not a generational leap. Like Destiny 2. Destiny 2 didn't need to be Destiny 2. All of that could have basically been done in Destiny 1, in the same way that Destiny 2 has stuck to being Destiny 2 and just been adding stuff to it continuously. Now, my one issue with Destiny 2 is that I don't really like how they have seasons that you have to buy and then expansions that you have to buy. Now, granted, sometimes they do a kind of decent offer where you can buy the expansion and then you get the next couple of seasons included. That's okay, but you have to be really careful with how you monetize people these days. Like, is Destiny free to play? Technically, but then you also have like an in-game cash shop, seasons, and expansions. You can't be charging your player for every little thing. You have to be smart about it. You have to make the players want to spend money, not lament it. In summary though, things from this E3 I'm curious about. Contraband, Final Fantasy Chaos, Babylon's Fall, Elden Ring, Lost Ark, Diablo 2 Remaster if that counts. I was kind of hoping the rumours of that My Hero Academia fighting game would turn out to be true. The rumour basically being that they were going to make Dragon Ball Fighters, but, you know, My Hero Academia Fighters. But no news on that. I watched that whole series over the last couple of months, then read all the manga too. It'd been a long time since I went through one of those kind of battle shonen type shows. I've been enjoying it. The bird dude is the coolest character, clearly. But yeah, E3 doesn't have much left going for it. If I compare games I'm playing now to even a few years ago, it's a drastic change. As I mentioned with the Battle Pass and Season Pass things, I'm playing Genshin Impact, Red Dead Online, Destiny every week. They all have Battle Passes. I play Final Fantasy XIV, which is an MMO, which has something similar to Battle Passes. You know, Final Fantasy XIV, they give you, well, it used to be new content every 3 months. Now it's a bit more up in the air, but you know. How about you? What do you think of this new seasonal business model that games are having? What do you think of E3 this year? What are you looking forward to in the months to come? But that about does it for now. I guess I'll see you guys at the Tokyo Game Show. Not that I make videos for that, but maybe I need to start doing that. It's been a very rambly video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you next time. Goodbye.